Welcome back to Hannity. Conservative activist Gayle Trotter made a lot of people take notice during last week's gun violence hearing on Capitol Hill when she argued that it is women who are responsible for protecting their children, and they're going to be the ones put at risk by the president's anti-gun proposals. Now, here's a bit of this very explosive testimony. Watch this.
An assault weapon in the hands of a young woman defending her babies in her home becomes a defense weapon. The peace of mind that she has, knowing that she has a scary-looking gun, gives her more courage when she's fighting hardened, violent criminals.
She would clearly have an adequate ability to protect her family
without
the need for a 100-round piece.
How can you say
weaponry.
that? You are a large man, and you are not a tall man. You are not a young mother who has a young child with her. And I am passionate about this position because you cannot understand. You are not a woman stuck in her house, having to defend her children, not able to leave her child, not able to go seek safety, on the phone with 911, and she cannot get the police there fast enough to protect her child.
All right, so how is the president's unconstitutional gun grab affecting the ability of mothers, women, to protect their children? Joining me now to explain all of this from the Independent Women's Forum is Gayle Trotter herself. It's very, very nice to meet you. You tore it up. I mean, even the crowd was getting involved, and were you surprised by the reaction you've gotten?
I was surprised by the reaction, but I was really delighted because I think this view is not something that the media is covering. I think it's something that people haven't really considered, and I really wanted to speak to women about this very important constitutional right and explain to them the cases. I had an appendix which had 21 examples of women defending themselves against violent attack with firearms.
Yeah, you know, this is the one thing that I'm proud on this show that we've done that most others in the media have not done, and we've been highlighting a lot of the cases of people that have defended themselves. The most recent case is that woman in Georgia. Guy breaks into her house. She goes up into the crawl space with her twins. She's shaken. She has a revolver, and that saved their lives potentially.
That's right, and my critics criticized what I said because I said there could be multiple attackers. I said there could be babies, children in the background, and no one who criticized me bothered to read my appendix. In my appendix, I had an example of a woman who was attacked by 5 armed intruders. I had an example where a woman defended her child from being kidnapped. I had multiple examples of women with babies, with young children trying to defend themselves, and so no one who criticized me bothered to read the written testimony that I submitted to the Senate.
It seemed like they were shocked, and you did make a good point. Generally speaking, obviously exceptions, men are physically stronger than women. Does not bring,
right, yes.
So they have maybe perhaps have a little bit of a physical advantage. A man breaks into your home, you've got children to protect. You're a sitting duck.
And you can't leave. And what are your options? You can scream, you can run away.
Nobody will hear you in your house.
They won't. And many of my examples, the women in that example were following the safety playbook, and they had called 911, and 911 could not respond fast enough.
Well, and that is a problem. Give me some of the other examples you brought that obviously they didn't pay attention to.
Another example was a woman at a school stopping one of these mass killings. Who knows what would have happened? And that's something that my critics have used against me. They say that I'm fantasizing things that could happen, and that's like arguing the negative. Well, I can't prove what would have happened because it stopped, and we want things to be stopped before we have these mass killings or women and children who are violently attacked.
We now have a law in New York where you can't have more than 7 bullets in a magazine.
Yes, I'm familiar with that.
Okay. Now, in some of those examples, the woman in Georgia shot this guy, and miraculously, considering the circumstances, because I'm a marksman, but you don't know how you're going to react when that moment comes. She hit him 5 times. He still walked out of that house. And then they keep arguing, well, how many bullets do you need? And my answer would be as many as necessary.
That's right. And Senator Whitehouse said, wouldn't the shotgun be adequate for any woman? And my question for him is, are we really looking at what's adequate for a woman? I mean, shouldn't a woman be able to defend herself with all the means necessary? In D.C. versus Heller, the case that the Supreme Court decided, the idea was that you can have what's commonly available. AR-15s are commonly available. There are over 3 million in circulation right now in the United States.
I have 2. But one of the things about an AR-15, it is a weapon that is easily handled by people.
Yes, that's right.
And it doesn't have a lot of kick.
And this doesn't just affect women. I also put in my appendix people who are elderly. They probably wouldn't want to be called that way, but you know, they're 68, 77 years old, and that affects vulnerable, not just women. I was looking at it from the women's perspective, but also elderly.
How do you juxtapose this issue with the whole liberal Obama narrative during the campaign that there was a Republican war on women?
It's the opposite. It's the opposite. And I think we all, left and right, this is not a partisan issue. I think everybody wants a safer society. So when you start trying to put people into groups and you don't actually look at the effect of the legislation that's being proposed, you harm everyone.
What do you think ultimately comes out of this? Because you were up on Capitol Hill, you spoke to a lot of these senators and congressmen. Do you think it passes?
I don't. And I think that women will not surrender their very important fundamental constitutional rights so easily.
I got to tell you, I've watched a lot of moments where people testify, and you just really handed it to them, and that's why I think a lot of people were cheering you. So it's very, very nice to meet you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And that took a lot of guts for you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.